Welcome to the Survival Historian, where the grit of survival meets the weight of history. Picture yourself standing in a modern kitchen, refrigerator humming with abundance, shelves stocked with choices that would have seemed miraculous just a century ago. Now strip all of that away. Imagine instead the cold mud of a trench, the metallic tang of fear in your mouth, and a single tin can that represents your only meal for the next 24 hours. This is the reality that millions of soldiers faced across three of history's most defining conflicts. Today, we're recreating the rations that kept armies moving through the World Wars and the Cold War, exploring not just what men ate to survive, but how they transformed scarcity into sustenance, monotony into ingenuity, and desperation into an unexpected kind of resilience. The iron rations of the Great War, when survival meant improvisation. In the trenches of World War I, food wasn't just fuel. It was one of the few connections to humanity left in a landscape of industrialized death. The British and American soldiers' ration centered around three unforgiving staples that defined the war's culinary misery. Hardtack biscuits, those infamous squares of baked flour and water, arrived so dense and moisture-free that soldiers joked they could stop bullets. These weren't meant to be eaten dry. Attempting to bite into one could crack a tooth. Instead, men would soak them in water, tea, or whatever liquid they could find, waiting for the rock-hard squares to soften into something remotely edible. But even then, the biscuits often harbored weevils, and soldiers learned to tap them against their mess tins in the dark to avoid seeing what protein supplements they were really consuming. The second pillar of the Great War diet was bully beef, tinned corned beef that came sealed in distinctive cans adorned with cheerful labels that belied their contents. This preserved meat, created through commercial canning and vacuum sealing, could last months without refrigeration, making it invaluable when supply lines stretched thin across the torn landscape of no man's land. Most often, soldiers ate it cold, straight from the can, the congealed fat coating their tongues as they crouched in waterlogged dugouts. Then came Makanoki's stew, a tinned amalgamation of beef potatoes, carrots, onions, and haricot beans that theoretically provided a complete meal. The reality was less appetizing. The stew congealed into an unappetizing mass when cold, and heating it in the trenches meant risking exposure to enemy fire. But necessity birthed innovation even in those hellish conditions. Soldiers became alchemists of scarcity, combining their meager rations into trench stew or burgoo, boiling hardtack with bully beef and whatever vegetables they could scavenge from abandoned farms or receive in care packages from home. They'd add the daily rum ration not just for warmth and courage, but as a flavor enhancer that made the bland concoctions almost palatable. Tea, sugar, and the occasional piece of chocolate from home became currency, traded between men who learned that survival meant sharing and improvising. The ingenuity wasn't just culinary, it was psychological warfare against despair itself, industrial solutions, World War II's packaged promise. The Second World War brought a revolution in military feeding. Armies had learned from the Great War's logistical nightmares, and the result was the individual combat ration, the C ration, and its lighter companion, the K ration. These pre-packaged meals represented a fundamental shift in how modern militaries approached soldier nutrition. The C ration arrived in heavy tin cans, divided into M units containing thermostabilized meat stews, ham and lima beans or meat and beans, alongside B units packed with hardtack-style biscuits, soluble coffee, cocoa powder, and jam. Each can was a small fortress of preservation, its contents heated to sterilization and sealed to withstand everything from Pacific humidity to Arctic cold. The K ration took a different approach, prioritizing weight over durability for paratroopers and mobile infantry. 3 meals came packaged in waxed cardboard boxes with parchment linings: breakfast, dinner, and supper, each containing canned meat or pâté, compressed biscuits, fruit bars, and chocolate, alongside drink powder and, notably, cigarettes and chewing gum. The designers understood that morale was as crucial as calories. These rations were scientific triumphs, nutritionally balanced for short-term use, but the human palate rebelled against such monotony. Soldiers opened their tin cans with P-38 can openers, tiny folding devices that became so essential they were worn on dog-tag chains, and stared at the same combinations meal after meal after meal. Stretching these rations became an art form born of desperation and creativity. Men traded components between units, swapping unwanted ham and lima beans, universally despised and nicknamed ham and motherfers, for more desirable chicken and noodles or beef stew. They crumbled biscuits into the canned meat to create something resembling texture and variety. Some rations included small bottles of hot sauce in later iterations, and these became liquid gold, transforming bland protein into something that at least burned with flavor. Soldiers learned to heat their cans on makeshift stoves, fashioned from empty ration tins filled with jellied gasoline, risking scorched meals for the psychological comfort of hot food. Cold War evolution from tin to technology. As the world settled into the tense standoff of the Cold War, military rations evolved once more. The meal combat individual largely continued the canned tradition of World War II, but with expanded variety, up to 10 different meat options to combat the monotony that had plagued earlier generations. But the real revolution came in the mid-1980s, with the introduction of the MRE, the meal ready to eat. This represented a paradigm shift from heavy, cumbersome cans to lightweight, flexible retort pouches made from military-grade plastic. These pouches underwent the same thermostabilization process, but their durability to weight ratio made them ideal for modern mobile warfare. The MRE wasn't just about technology, it was about understanding that well-fed soldiers performed better. Each brown plastic bag contained a main course, side dishes, spreads like peanut butter or jam, desserts, drink mixes, and an accessory packet with utensils, condiments, and, after 1990, a flameless ration heater. This chemical heating element used an exothermic reaction between magnesium and water to warm meals without fire or smoke, a seemingly small innovation that had enormous psychological impact. Hot food in the field meant comfort, normalcy, and a connection to civilization even in the most austere environments. Yet even with improved variety and technology, soldiers continued the timeless tradition of customization. They created MRE bombs by combining multiple components into hybrid meals, mixing cheese spread with crackers and jalapeno cheese into something approaching actual flavor. The trading economy persisted, with certain menu numbers becoming more valuable than others. Soldiers learned which meals contained the best desserts, which hot sauces could resurrect even the blandest chicken a la king, and how to stretch their rations through careful rationing and creative recombination. From the mud-caked trenches of the Somme to the jungles of Vietnam to modern deployments, military rations tell a story that transcends mere nutrition. They speak to human adaptability, to the way scarcity breeds innovation, and to the profound truth that food is never just fuel, it's memory, comfort, and connection. These rations, whether rock-hard biscuits or space-age retort pouches, sustain not just bodies but spirits, reminding soldiers of the homes they'd left and the lives they'd returned to. Today, as we explore sustainable living and emergency preparedness, these historical lessons remain startlingly relevant. The ingenuity that turned limited ingredients into survivable meals mirrors the resourcefulness we need in our own uncertain times. If you found this journey through wartime sustenance compelling, hit that like button, share this video with fellow history enthusiasts, and subscribe to The Survival Historian. Join us as we continue exploring how endurance and history intertwine, one survival story at a time. Until next time, stay curious, stay prepared, and remember, Survival is written in the choices we make when everything else is stripped away.